Your biological signature is currently broadcasting a high-frequency supplication to the sexual environment. Look at your behavioral patterns. You are a biological unit operating under the service protocol, a state where you provide unearned resources and emotional validation in hopes of a future reproductive reward. In the terminal of reality, this is not kindness. It is a genetic subsidy for your own exclusion. You are living in a simulation where the visual rage of the sexual hunt has been sanitized into polite discourse. Your skin is sallow from the chronic stress of agreeability, and your nervous system is vibrating at the frequency of the assistant, the male who waits for the female to define the reality of the room. You are breathing in the toxic fumes of a collective that demands you be a nice guy, which is just a tactical requirement for your total resource harvesting and subsequent disposal. You are not a sovereign, you are a safety net, a placeholder whose predictability is used as a shield until a monolith of raw, unmanaged drive appears on the horizon to claim the territory you were merely guarding. The system doesn't want your dominance. It wants your obedience to be labeled as goodness. Thousands of years ago, the nice guy was a biological impossibility. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the unmapped dark, understood that interest was a product of biological risk. He possessed primal grounding in the law of the high stake. He didn't offer support, he offered access to power. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of opaque intent, the ability to remain unreadable until the moment of execution. The female's brain was designed to filter for the anomaly, the male who refused to be part of the social background noise. If your ancestor had prioritized agreeability over sovereignty, he would have been signaled as a beta secondary unit and excluded from the genetic ledger. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to serve. He possessed a mind that treated the female's opinion as a static signal that could be ignored if it interfered with the mission. He understood that attraction is a neural trigger activated by the presence of a male who is indigestible to the tribe's rules. And you have the strategy of a domestic animal. You have been systematically dismantled by a culture that demands you be nice, which is just a tactical trap to ensure you remain low risk and low reward. Interest dies where safety becomes a certainty. High-value secrets are the implementation of the anti-chew protocol for your final reproductive expansion. The system wants you to be reliable and consistently available, words that mean transparent and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the subconscious. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of investment traps, stimulus response lures, and deciding to be the one who never invests first. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for standardized flattery. Politeness is a horizontal bond for the herd. Unpredictability is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the blind spots of the social safety net. Use the temporal noose of selective absence to create a vacuum of information in her mind. Use the false safety of a calm, silent presence to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the collar of freedom. By being the only man in her environment who is emotionally self-sufficient, you become the only man who is high value. Most people are meat puppets who seek connection through agreeability. You must become the one who commands attraction through the sheer gravity of your own activation energy. The matrix cannot simulate the pull of a man who truly does not need the outcome. Your time is the temporal noose, and your hope for approval is the knot. Every favor you do that isn't returned with interest is a signature on your own biological surrender. I command you, initiate the total value audit. Your body is a biological weapon, and it is currently being used as a service unit in the mating market. You must perform a hard reset of the high-value instincts. Stop being there for her, the industrial waste designed to keep you in the orbit of her convenience. Stop watching their relationship advice, the digital propaganda designed to make you believe that working on the relationship is a male responsibility. Stop using their social protocols, the narratives designed to keep you in a state of constant supplication. You must prune your life of nice guy parasites. If an interaction doesn't increase your perceived status, your territorial reach, or your internal power, it is a biological saboteur. You must learn to love the friction of the disagreement. You must learn to love the cold, hard clarity of being the man who walks away without a backward glance. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is desired by choice and sovereign by design. Command: kill the nice guy or be killed by his rejection. The neural interface of your romantic interactions is currently suffering from predictability saturation. Look at your responsiveness. It is not reliability. It is a a tactical broadcast of your low market value. You are a biological unit experiencing a total cognitive devaluation. The matrix has effectively replaced your primal mystery with a systemic transparency. You believe that by being available, supportive, and emotionally open, you are building a foundation of trust. But in the terminal of the feminine hindbrain, you are merely signaling that your activation energy has no other outlet. This is the visual rage of the domesticated male, seeing your high-value genetic potential being liquidated into friendship and stability, while her deep brain architecture remains calibrated to seek the unstable anomaly. You are living in a state of chronic emotional transparency where your value has been relabeled as safety and your aggression has been relabeled as toxic. You are breathing in the exhaust of a social grid that treats your dominance as a threat to be managed through shame and rejection. You are a resource-rich organism whose apex signature has been suppressed to fund the security of the herd. The system doesn't want your passion, it wants your social compliance to be the price of your survival. In the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unreadable sovereign, the master was the one who could remain a biological question mark even in the closest proximity. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the absolute dark, understood that interest was a product of informational asymmetry. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an attention monolith, a figure whose internal fire was so focused on the mission that the female had to compete for a single spark of his notice. He understood that to be safe is to be invisible. If you provide a standardized response to every emotional stimulus, you cease to be a man and become a utility. His biological superiority was built on the foundation of selective indifference. He knew that the female brain is a machine that runs on pattern interruption, and by refusing to be consistent, he triggered a biological obsession that the nice guys could not compute. He was a master of the visual rage of the cold presence, the ability to look at a female and let her wonder where she stands until she begins to invest her own activation energy to find out. And you are a creature of reassurance. You spend your drive on the visual rage of being there, when the only there you should be is at the center of your own unshakable reality. To be a master, you must first become psychologically expensive to the collective. High-value secrets are the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final internal dominance. The Matrix wants you to be communicative and empathetic, words that mean predictable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the perception. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of investment hooks, stimulus response lures, and deciding to be the one who never bites first. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for equality in effort. Equality is a horizontal bond for the stagnant. Dominance is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological time. Use the temporal noose of selective silence to drive her brain into a state of hyper-investment. Use the false safety of a polite social mask to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only man in the room whose value is not being broadcast from her approval. Most people are meat puppets who can be manipulated by a cold shoulder or a silent treatment. You must become the one who uses the silence as his primary throne. You are not dating, you are deleting the weakness. The one who can go the longest without external validation is the one who controls the validation of everyone else. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need to be liked is the knot. Every apology you issue when you have done nothing wrong is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the second stage of the value rearmament. Your mind is a biological engine, and it is currently being choked by the supplicant sludge of the unworthy. You must perform a total neural value reset. Stop being agreeable to those who offer you nothing but their own judgment. Stop being a node in their network of emotional support. Stop being a unit of compliance in their ledger of respectable suitors. You must prune your social interactions with the collar of absolute sovereignty. If a relationship requires you to sacrifice your primal drive, it is a biological saboteur. You must learn to love the weight of the silence. You must learn to love the friction-heavy hours where the noise of the collective is muted and your dominance is the only signal in the dark. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is desired by choice and sovereign by design. You are not a member of their mating civilization. You are the one who is going to outlast its decay. Command: abandon the nice or be abandoned by the value. Your biological trajectory has reached the terminal point of attraction neutralization. Look at your responsiveness threshold, the exact moment your nervous system triggers a panic response because you haven't received a text back, forcing you to send a follow-up to restore the social peace. peace. You are a biological system in a state of chronic activation decay. The system has successfully replaced your genetic magnetism with a series of service proxies. You no longer seek to be the prize. You seek to be reliable. You no longer seek to inspire awe. You seek to be understood. You no longer seek to be the sovereign. You seek to be the equal. This is the visual rage of the terminal slave. Seeing your life force being digitized and archived in a stable relationship, while your physical reality remains a quiet, managed enclosure of unfulfilled DNA. You are breathing in the toxic fumes of a collective that demands your emotional labor as a form of tribute, leaving you lightheaded, fragmented, and fundamentally undesirable. Your high value is not a lifestyle, it is a physical weight that has been hollowed out by 1,000 layers of psychological softening. The system doesn't want your legacy, it wants your docility to be the foundation of her security. Return to the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking monolith. In the primal world, the master was the one who could remain a biological anchor, even in the center of a storm. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the absolute cold, understood that interest was a product of biological certainty. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an impenetrable core, a figure whose emotions were his own property and whose mission was the only law. He understood that to seek understanding is to confess inferiority. If you are explaining your feelings to a woman, you are acknowledging that her judgment is the barometer of your reality. He used his genetic dominance to create a cognitive resonance of absolute, unshakable divinity. By being the master of his own internal climate, he forced the female to seek shelter within his strength. He was a master of the visual rage of the unblinking sun, the ability to look at the emotional demands of the tribe and see only the tests they represented. He understood that the female brain is a machine that runs on security triggers, and by being the only source of absolute cold certainty, he triggered a biological submission that the weak could only view with envy. And you are terrified of loneliness. You spend your energy trying to be there for her, when the only there you should be is at the pinnacle of your own ascension. To be a king, you must first become psychologically unbreakable by external opinion. High-value secrets are the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final reproductive expansion. The matrix wants you to be predictable and available, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological jailbreak of the heart. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of shame control nodes, stimulus response lures, and deciding to be the one who burns the grid. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for mainstream relationship goals. Healthy communication is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute authority is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological inputs. Use the temporal noose of total emotional starvation to drive her brain into a state of hyper-focus on you. Use the false safety of a neutral social profile to mask the viral infection of your total non-compliance with the beta norms. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only man in the room whose value is not being broadcast from her approval. Most people are meat puppets who can be manipulated by a cold shoulder or a silent treatment. You must become the one who uses the silence as his primary throat. You are not dating, you are deleting the weakness. The one who can go the longest without external validation is the one who controls the validation of everyone else. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need to be liked is the knot. Every reassurance you seek from the matrix is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the final reproductive imperative. This is the tax of insight. You have been given the key to the vault of biological attraction. To keep it, you must use it as a weapon of total social dominance. You must become a living monolith of unshakable indifference. You are no longer a suitor, a partner, or a boyfriend. You are a sovereign operator. You must perform a total system liquidation. If a relationship, a technology, or a habit requires you to be weak, it is a biological saboteur. You must prune your life with the collar of the absolute zero. You are building a fortress of results in a world of digital shadows. Your strength is the physical proof of your biological leverage. You do not ask for love. You create a reality in which you are the only center of gravity. You do not seek approval. You are the law itself. You are the architect of your presence, and the world is merely a mirror reflecting your ascent. Command, be the mountain or be the dust.